Hello YouTube, welcome back everybody. So in today's episode, you might have guessed off the thumbnail, we're going to be revisiting and having a look at the Killer Bee Super G sump and oil control setup that we've got. I realise it's been about a year now, we're just over a year, we've done a full season and one event, and I've not revisited it, I've not really spoke about it on social media I have, but not on YouTube I mean. So we're going to go out and have a look exactly what it's like straight after the event. And then we'll go in the van and I'll show you a bit of data, from various events. Yeah, it's all good and well me going, buy the Killer Bee sump, it's fantastic, blah, 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 there's no surge, I've fixed all this. But anyone can say that. I know you like to see real world data, I like to see real world data. So that's what this video is about basically. And also I've bought a new set of mics. So hopefully, fingers crossed, the audio should be a little bit better. Yeah, so here we are, straight after Cadwell last weekend. You will have seen the video. That record, club four-wheel drive, absolutely fantastic. Car's done superb. We've not had any breakages. The gearbox has held up well, but that's not what this video is about anyway. So we're running, as you know, if you've been following along, the Super G sump. I'll put a picture in the screen now. We've got Super G sump, high flow oil pickup pipe, and then we've got the Killer Bee windage tray. I'll put all pictures in the screen. And then we've got the Killer Bee oil control valve, and I'll explain why that's so important. So on the breather system of the car, we're running two oil catch cans. We've got one just there, you can see, which is for the rear crank, which goes from the center point there, rear crank, straight into that catch can. And then that overflows into the main catch can that we're running at the back, which is a 2-litre OBP black edition. I black editioned it, and then I think OBP actually copied, and they do their own black edition now. But anyway, so as you can see, this is, I haven't touched anything yet. This is how much oil has passed over the 4 sessions at Cadwell Park in that previous video from last weekend. So we're about 1.7 litres roughly of oil. So that's important to note. So I've got like a Fumoto, one of these quick, is it Fumoto? Fumoto, yeah. Quick drain taps on the bottom, and then it's just going straight to I just have it going straight to a bucket with a pipe coming out. So we're going to, well, focus, but we're going to drain that now. So I've just set that one to drain. We're draining off underneath there. And then this is the rear crank, the oil catch can from the rear crank, as I said a second ago. So this one just unscrews like so. I want to drop oil everywhere. See how much is in it. It's usually about half full, but yeah, well, a little bit more than half full. Don't spill, don't spill, don't spill. There we go. So this oil in this oil catch can is from longitudinal forces, so it's acceleration and braking, mainly acceleration. It's coming up I'll put a picture in the screen now, but it's coming up the rear breather, the OEM sort of baffle plate, that the Subarus have on the back of the block behind the flywheel. It's coming up through that section and going into this catch can. And this is the reason why I have this separate catch can, is to monitor what's coming out of each force, if you like, the front to rear and the left and right. I know if this overflows, obviously it goes into the main catch can and then it'll skew readings, but it doesn't tend to overflow. It goes to about this sort of level. You just got to keep an eye on it. So the main thing that you'll be asking is, or wondering, should I say, why is it passing that much oil? And it's simply because of the design of the Killer Bee sump. It doesn't have a baffle, it doesn't have a lid on top of it like many other designs. But this is where the Killer Bee shines, because the oil from the engine can get back to the sump and get back around the oil pickup where it needs to be, which is what eliminates the surge. But what I have noticed is it'll only fill that catch can or only pass any oil through the breather system when you're right on the limit. So if I'm going, for example, at Cadwell, I did a 132. You would have seen in a previous video if you've watched it. If not, I'll put a link up here. But that lap passed about a litre of oil. The previous laps to that, where I'm not absolutely on the limit of the car, you know, pulling the maximum corner in G-forces, it's not passing barely any oil. So like the 1 minute 36, 1 minute 37, 1 minute 38, it's not, doesn't tend to pass any oil. So it's only, I find, absolute, which makes perfect sense, but absolutely on the limit, you're going to be passing a lot of oil through the breather system. And why? Why are we doing that? So the Killer Bee sump, as I said, doesn't have a lid on it, which is where it shines, as I've just said. But what happens then, because this is a flat four engine layout setup, we've got one breather pipe coming off the top of the rocker cover. You can just see there. The crossover one's capped. The other breather goes to one side of the oil control valve, and the other breather here comes to the other side of the oil control valve, this pipe here, this pipe. So what happens at the oil control valve, and why is this so important? To limit the amount of oil that passes through into the oil catch can. So we're driving along, we take a left-hander, so we're going that way. All the oil naturally wants to swill out of the sump because there's no cap on it into one of the cylinder heads. Where does it go when it comes up into the cylinder head? Through the breather and up to the oil control valve. Traditionally, it would just go to a catch can and you'd fill it in no time. So this oil control valve is critical with the Killer Bee setup. The oil control valve's got two balls in it. You can see this sloping section here, and then on the back there, there's another sloping section, see there? And what happens is, when you go around a corresponding corner, so if you go around left-hander, oil swills to this head, starts coming up this breather pipe, the ball rolls up with the natural, G-force that you're pulling, and it blocks that valve. So then no oil or vapours can come through that pipe momentarily while you're going around the corner, which is critical, as I said, so it doesn't fill the catch can. So same happens the other way when you're going around a right-hander, blocks that pipe, no oil can come up through there. So what's happening, I think, when I'm absolutely on the limit is there's a residual oil in this pipe here, and then because this pipe, this one here, doesn't go straight up to that side of the oil control valve here, it dips down. You can see it goes down and then up. So the oil has puddled in there, and then the crankcase vapours, crankcase pressures are pushing it through into the open side of the oil control valve and then through into the catch can. That's my take on it anyway. I've not spoken to Nick, I've not spoken to anyone at Killer Bee yet, and that's just my initial take on it. But I don't see it as an issue at all unless you don't monitor your catch can. I can't see a reason why you wouldn't, but if you don't monitor that catch can level, you can then run low on oil, on the oil level in the sump, which is then you're starting to get cavitations and surges and stuff, which is, funnily enough, what I did in the final at Cadwell. So what we'll do is we're going to have a look. I got it set up in the van. We're going to have a look at some data, but qualifying laps, every lap prior to that, I've been emptying the oil catch can, putting it back into the engine, making sure the level's fine. Cadwell, I thought, car's doing great, nothing's going wrong. We'll leave the oil catch can. It was about sort of a quarter full from the previous 3 sessions, and I was like, it'll be all right, that. Didn't check the engine oil level, just me being lazy. And what's happened is we've blown about a litre out into the oil catch can, maybe just under, maybe like 750 mil or whatever, which has then just gone a little bit low on the sump, and then it's caused a little bit of variation in oil pressure. I won't go as far as saying, well, it is surge, but I won't go as far as saying it would be critical for the engine. But I do have the AccuSump there to buffer, that margin. So we'll go in the van anyway. I'll show you the data. We'll show you the different laps, the qualifying, the practice, the warm-up, and then the final, where we've got a little bit of fluctuation. not from the Killer Bee setup, from me not keeping an eye on the engine oil level, in short. I should probably say welcome to the van first of all. Is the new race van abode. Let me just get this laptop on and we'll get some files up. So here we've got the practice session up initially. I'm sorry about the reflection, but you can see the numbers. It's bright enough. We've got in the top section, real briefly, we've got gearbox oil temperature, we've got engine exhaust gas temperatures. Then above that in the yellow, we've got air charge temperatures. We've got engine oil temperatures in red, and then in blue we've got engine coolant temperatures. In the table below, and you can see on the key on the side here, it explains it all. So we've got what calibration switch we're in. We've got manifold absolute pressure. We've got the RPM. We've got vehicle speed. We've got wastegate map target, so what I'm targeting at any given point. And then in the bottom screen we've got engine oil pressure, what gear we're in, and then what have we actually got in that one there? Coolant pressure. I don't know why we've got that, but we'll take that off. So what do we want to see? I don't want to add that. We want to click vehicle speed. So this section that we've got, so this section here on screen, just come down the home straight, just off screen here. We've given it that little blip where we go up in fifth, should be, oh no, where we drop down to fourth, going into turn 2, and then this is coming out, turn 3 right hander, coming out onto Park Straight, all the way down Park Straight. We're doing 136.5, 137, whatever, braking, coming down, and then going around to Chris's Curve, now peaking around there 106 on this lap. So if we look down here at engine oil pressure, if we come round Chris's Curve, we'll go along as if we're going around Chris's Curve here. If you look at the numbers on the right hand side of the screen, your oil pressure is staying stable all the way around there, 5.3, 5.4 bar. It takes a little bit of a dip there, does it? Let me zoom in. Just there, we can see it dips a little bit down to 5 bar, which is perfectly fine, but that will have just been, where are we looking on the map there? Just coming down the hill, just turning into, as you come round Chris's Curve and go down the hill and do that left-hander, that's just that section there, under braking downhill, it's just done a little dip on the oil pressure. So let's continue round. We're going round up through the next section. If we click on vehicle speed, up through the next section, going up to about 117, I think it goes up to 117, roughly 115. That's coming under the bridge, coming up to the mountain. And then what you can see there, I guess you're thinking, wow, look at that dip there in oil pressure. Nothing you can do about that. That is, the only way you're going to eliminate that is with a dry sump. That is going up over the mountain. Zero gravity. Unfortunately, we can't keep the oil around the pickup. There's very few tracks where this is an issue. Cadwell is one of them. Yeah, you just got to have the Aki sump there to buffer that. But we'll continue. So we've come up over the mountain at this section here. Lost a bit, got a bit of cavitation, bit of surge there. Aki sump's there to save the day, replacing the volume. And I'll actually get that up on video and see if we can see it on the gauge on the dash. But coming round, going through hall bends, stable, couple of little bits. There's a couple of bits there, dropping down to 4.6 bar, going through hall bends. That tight right-hander, are we dropping anything there? No. And then we're coming out and going back out onto the main straight, and you'll see the vehicle speed going up again there. This one, sorry, up to 140, 100, yeah. And oil pressure stable. So that's practice session. We'll open up the next one now, which will be qualifying. Is it this one? Final, that one is. go on the qualifying. Here we go. So same section of track again. We'll look at vehicle speed. Here's the vehicle speed again. So we're coming down Park Straight, coming up and around Chris's Curve around this area here. So we're peaking like 110 around Chris's Curve, are we? 107. So we'll zoom in on the engine oil pressure around this section, because this section here is Chris's Curve, and it's a killer for Subarus. So we're pretty stable. We've got no dips really there. Same situation as the previous lap, the practice lap. We've got a little dip under braking coming down after Chris's Curve, you know, through that little gooseneck area, and then continuing up and towards the mountain under the bridge. And then again we've got the dip in oil pressure from the mountain. Again, nothing we can do about that. You can see it, you can clearly see it. Then all good through Hall Bends, a little bit more there, half a bar, it's dropped down about half a bar, out onto the main straight, and vehicle speed, that one, back up to 140, whatever, on the main straight, stable oil pressure. So now let's go to the last session. We want to be we've got vehicle speed on there. So we've got home straight, 142, park straight, what do we go up to? Oh, that's just going slowing down. Park straight up to 147.5 on that back straight, slowing down, taking the right-hander, coming round Chris's Curve. Now, because, as I say, I didn't keep a close eye on the level of the oil in the sump, we have some surge. Here, we've lost around half a bar, but we didn't have that on the two previous laps, if you remember. Vehicle speeds around the same, 107, or we peak a little bit higher, 111. So continue, same area. Let me get that back up. 110. So the same area where we got the dip in the previous two laps, we've got a little dip of engine oil pressure there, down to 4.3 bar under the braking section, or going through gooseneck, I believe, actually. I might have got it wrong. The braking section is more like here, and then this is the left-hander, and then back up underneath the bridge towards the mountain. And we're getting a little bit, what are we doing coming off the throttle? No, that's just coming off throttle. The oil pressure dropping. Let me just check. Yeah, so then we're coming up to the mountain. Going up the mountain, you'll see the rev limiter, you know, obviously blue line hitting the RPM, you know, the rev limiter at 750, I've got it set, and then, you know, sporadically going around here, and then your oil pressure correspondingly going down to like sort of 3.7, 3.6 there. But that's going over the mountain, can't do anything about it. Then coming back, going through Hall Bends and back out onto the main straight, which back up to 140 roughly. Oil pressure stable. Obviously the temperature of the oil is it's not actually that bad, 100 degrees, but yeah, we're staying at 4.85 bar, that sort of area. So yeah, it is a lot of rambling from me, but you can pause the screen, go through, you know, hopefully I'll upload it in a decent enough quality so you can see that, you know, when it's on the screen. But yeah, any bits that you want to look through, you know, just pause and rewind. But yeah, that's Cadwell Park's data overviewed. What am I going to say about the Killer Bee setup overall as a package? It's fantastic. It's great. It's eliminated 90% of my surge issues. Obviously, as long as you know, do what I've shown you. Keep an eye on your oil catch can levels. Keep an eye on your engine oil levels, and yeah, you'll be. I'm going to say probably 99% of people won't be at those sort of levels, do you know, in terms of G-forces, in terms of pushing the car, pushing the engine, pushing the setup. Yeah, it's, most people are going to be absolutely fine on that setup. Whereas previous setups that I've had on road cars, that I've had on track, you know, track cars, they've not been adequate, and I've not really been pushing. I've been getting engine, you know, I've been getting surge. So the answer isn't, you don't need a dry sump on a Subaru, is what the whole process that I've been trying to get at. You don't need a dry sump. There are advantages of the dry sump, you know, there's advantages of the wet sump still. They've both got the limitations as well. But what I'm trying to do by getting this information out there for you is like show you the data, and then you can make your own decision from what your application is. But my personal opinion on it is I'm not going to swap to a dry sump. I'm going to be going on slicks eventually, and I'm not going to be running a dry sump. I'm going to be continuing to run this same setup because I've always got the AccuSump there as a buffer. I've got the AccuSump there as a pre-oiler, pre-lubricator. But overall, the advice that I'd give to you know, someone when they ask me what should I do oil control, I'm like, this is what I run. And I'd say at a minimum, you need the Killer B setup. You need the Killer B oil control valve to go with that Killer B setup. It's sort of a package. So the windage tray, the high flow oil pickup, the sump, and the oil control valve, for those reasons that I've explained. But me personally, I would add the AccuSump and just leave it there, because it's just there as a buffer. It's just there as a worst case scenario, as you've seen from this. But the main reason, pre-luber. There's nothing, your dry sump's not doing that unless you're taking the belt off and spinning the crank over, spinning the pump over. Your AccuSump, I can leave it for 6 months, come to it, flick the valve, and engine's got full oil pressure, and it's mega for that. But then also on the flip end of that, you've got it for the times when you're getting a little bit of surge. You're replacing the oil, you know, the volume of oil, getting the protection. So yeah, I hope that's been helpful. If you've got any questions, or if you want a sump, then drop me a message. I can point you in the right direction. And yeah, take it easy, and I'll see you in the next video. The next video, by the way, is next week, but we're going to Blyton tomorrow, and Blyton Park for the Javelin Sprint Series, which we covered last year, and also Sergio, which has also been on the channel in the Evo a few times, I think now. But yeah, we're going to go and do the Javelin Sprint Series. So check out that video, that'll be next week, and take it easy.